We will start with Deye. Why with Deye? Because it's one of our most popular brands at the moment, and the fact that it's probably a new thing for a lot of you and a lot of our partners. Nowadays, the solar systems are a bit more complicated than they were a few years ago, when you only had to install an inverter, connect the solar panels, and you were good to go. Nowadays, customers also require batteries. Batteries require smart metering together with the inverter. So there are a lot of additional functions, and with that, a lot of possibilities to make errors or make good setups, which Deye offers quite a lot of different setups. But you need to know how to use them, otherwise your system will not work. With Norby, who is the CTO of the company, we visited the Deye headquarters in China, so we can get a proper training in how these devices work, and we can bring back the knowledge to you, so we can share it, so you can install it, and we can sell these products together. We were also visiting the inverter factory as well as the battery factory, as these are two different sites and developed by two different teams. So if with any device you have any question, you should feel free to ask, and hopefully we can answer any of your questions, or at least we will try to help you find a way to help you out. We received these certificates because we were on those trainings, and as a result we are also an official service point for Deye. So if you have any warranty issues with the product, you don't need to ship it back, or you don't need to wait until it gets shipped back to China or to the Netherlands, because we can service you here, service it for you here in Hungary. There are some other service points in Europe as well, but Hungary is really close to a lot of our current partners, so that's why I think it's a good advantage. And once a device have gotten into our warehouse, we can say that in 1 week we usually finish, or I believe until now all of our repairs was finished in under 1 week. So it's quite a fast service. Okay, I will repeat the question so everyone can hear it. The question was if we can repair a device if it was not bought from us. Basically, the answer should be yes, but there is no policy currently how we do that, because of course we don't want to work for other companies that are our competitors only because they don't offer the service for free, of course, but we can discuss it with the company who you bought it from. If they are not a service point for some fee, we can service it for them. I believe. Yes, of course. So there have to be some policy. Currently there was none, so usually if any customer had a problem with the device, then he go through his own supplier. But of course we can help you, or we can find out something if you have a similar problem and the seller cannot help you out. We are happy to help. So here we are. We were let into the testing room of the Deye inverters, where you can see extreme conditions. So for example, very cold temperature. There was also another room with very high temperature, of course. There was snow, there was rain in many of them. There was like 90% saturation in one room. There was a room with full of sand to mimic desert environments. So as a result, Deye inverters really can withstand the hazards of the environment. Okay, so there is a new series coming. I don't know how familiar are you already with this system, so I will try to include the old series as well in this presentation and talk a bit about the new series, what will be changed, what will be different, so you are familiar with both of them. Here on the wall you can see the most popular device, let's say, because this one is the three-phase asymmetric inverter. It's a hybrid one. It uses a low voltage battery, which means 48 volts. With this inverter you can use several types of batteries, which is one of the unique points. Of course there are some additional devices that can do that, but I believe Deye is is the most popular one, to be honest. In last year, in the power range from 0 to 10 kilowatt, Deye was the most popular brand all over the world. And it's because it offers a lot of functions. For example, that you can connect any 48 volt batteries to it, even if it does not have a communication protocol. The inverter can regulate the batteries through the voltage. You just have to set the battery setting to voltage level control, and then you are good to go. You also get a thermometer with the inverter when you purchase it, so it's included in the packaging that you can add to the battery. So the inverter will be able to monitor the temperature of the battery, even though they are not connected through communication, but there is a thermometer that you can use in pin 1 and 2 on the lower side. It's really important because here you also connect the CTs. So there are 8 pins and you have 3 CTs, so you would only use 6 pins, but that's because the first 2 is for the thermometer. Okay, this inverter is quite a unique one because of the power ranges and the low voltage battery it uses. Also, it has a load port and a generator port. Generator port has a lot of functions, basically. So either you can add a generator, as it comes from the name, but you can also switch this setting, switch this port, and use it as a smart load output. So basically, from the input, it will become an output, and you can parameter consumer on this port. So it will only consume energy in the given, when it's within the given parameters that you had set in advance, and with that you can benefit more from the power that you have generated. Also on this port you can connect another inverter. So for example, if you have a customer who have a SolarEdge inverter installed on the house, and you would like, or he would like to add batteries to it, but it's not a hybrid one, then if you only exchange the inverter, then you have to remove all of the optimizers from the SolarEdge inverter and from the back of the panels, of course. To avoid that, you can only add the Deye inverter and connect the SolarEdge in the generator port with a microgrid setting. And you can already add batteries to the Deye inverter. So with that you can circumvent this scenario, and you will be able to add batteries to the SolarEdge inverter. Okay, so as I mentioned, the new version is coming in this year. It probably will be available in Q3. There are some minor changes on the outside and some bigger ones on the inside. So let's go from outside to inside. On the outside you can see that the screws will be removed from the front of the panels, so it will get a bit more aesthetic look. Also it will have a slightly different form and a new touchscreen. The current touchscreen is not bad, but maybe you can say that it's a bit hard to manage, and sometimes it feels hard to press the given icon. But with the new touchscreen, we hope that this problem will be eliminated. It's not a big one, so you can use the current one as well just fine. But maybe the new one will be a bit smoother user experience. Also, the buttons will be changed a bit, so I think that's the most important from the outside. But from the inside, the new change will be that Deye inverters only allowed until now 30% oversizing on the DC side. So with the 10 kilowatt inverter, you could only use 30 kilowatt of solar panel. But now it's going to raise up to 50%, so it will meet the industry standard of most of the brands and the major ones as well. There are some inverters already that allow 70 or 100% oversizing, but I believe 50 is a good enough number. I don't really think you should usually go over that. Also, another important change is that on the strings, it will allow 30 amps now. So in case you need to parallel 2 strings from the solar panels with a Y connector, now you can do it because the solar panels grow rapidly in the last few years. So amp ratings also increased a lot within the solar panels. So you couldn't go and use parallel strings since a while because simply the current would be too high for the inverter. Now it's not the case anymore because 30 amps is more than enough for 2 strings in parallel. And here is a separation or a class within the inverters because they offer also low voltage inverters and high voltage inverters. Now, from the new series, the low voltage battery ones will support it from 3 until 20 kilowatts, so there is a little bit of mistake, but it will be supported up until 20 kilowatts now. And there is also high voltage battery option, which is a bit different. With the low voltage batteries, you can start with lower batteries, so you can offer a cheaper price with an energy storage system for your customer. For low voltage batteries, you can go from even 5 kilowatt hours. You can start with 5 kilowatt hours, and that's not a big capacity, so he doesn't have to invest that much money into it. After that, if you go to high voltage series, you need to at least buy 4 Boss G batteries at the moment. All of them is 5 kilowatt hours as well in capacity. That would mean the client needs to start with 20 kilowatt hours of capacity, which could be a bit expensive. So that's why there is an option to both use in some power ranges, high voltage and low voltage. High voltage batteries offer a bit better percentage in efficiency, but as I mentioned, low voltage ones are more flexible. So flexibility is the real advantage here, and also, of course, the safety, because 48 volts will hardly cause an arc. So that's why it's available in both options. Also, there would be a new hybrid inverter coming in the bigger power ranges. You can see the 50 kilowatt one here. 50 kilowatt power hybrid inverters are already quite big and quite unique in the industry. But with this new series, also 60, 70, and 80 kilowatt one hybrids are coming. If you decide to purchase somewhere a lot of batteries, because let's say in a C&I environment, company needs energy storage system, when you purchase the cabinet of Deye, it will be filled up with batteries, and you will need an additional hybrid inverter to manage the batteries, and you can also attach PV to that, because you will have an inverter like that on the side of the cabinet. If you have used Deye before, then you're probably well known with SolarMan application. That was previously to Deye Cloud, because Deye was a bit delayed with his own cloud software and used SolarMan. SolarMan was software for a lot of other brands, not just Deye, but Deye was also first in a partnership with SolarMan, so they used their application for, of course, a price. But basically what you had to do is you had to commission the inverter in the SolarMan application. Now, since a while, Deye Cloud is available, and we can say already that it's now better because it's more supported than SolarMan. So all the developments are Deye focused, and all of the developments are regarding the Deye brand itself, and they're doing it in-house now. So I would recommend all of you to use the Deye Cloud application. Also, if you have any problems in the Deye Cloud, you can share with our account your plant that you have an error with, or something that you don't, or your client don't understand fully, and we can check it out online and get back to you with an answer. It's way easier than ask for all of the data separately. Okay, so there will be also single-phase inverters with the new series. We already sell them from the old one. For these, the similarities and the changes are exactly the same as for the three-phase ones. There are different markets, so I'm not sure which one is more popular in your region, one-phase or three-phase. Basically, when we recommend one-phase, it's mostly those applications where you would like to do an island installation, because even if the three-phase inverter is an asymmetric one, if all of your consumers are in one phase, then one-phase inverter can surely power those consumers. Meanwhile, with a three-phase inverter, you have to do some thinking and some grouping of the consumers, so the system will work correctly. There is the new hybrid three-phase one. There would be two different series for the low voltage, because the first one will mimic, let's say, the previous series, so it will be in the same power range as the previous one, from 3 to 12 kilowatts. And there would be another series which further increases this possibility from 14 to 20 kilowatts. Basically, these are very similar. It's just that low voltage inverters weren't available in that power range, but now they would. And as I mentioned, here is the new hybrid big inverter, let's say, because it's also dependent on the country's regulations. So for example, in Hungary, you can install hybrid inverters up to 50 kilowatts if they are on the list of residential installations. I am not familiar with all of the grid regulations across Europe, but if you have a possibility, you can go up now to 80 kilowatts with Deye and connect batteries directly to it later. Or at the same time, it doesn't matter, you will have this flexibility, which is a quite unique selling point, I believe. Also, one important thing to note is that when you use Deye, the parallel installation has some very strict requirements. So there are some rules that you need to keep in mind and need to follow. If it would be your first parallel installation with Deye, please feel free to ask your sales person to provide with additional information so we can make sure that the system will work correctly. But I will tell you right now as well what these regulations are, but maybe just in case you forget something, please for the first installation ask your salesperson because it will be very important not to mess up the device selection. So first of all, when you are using low voltage inverters, if you use any Deye inverters in parallel, you will have to have batteries. So it's a need for parallel functions. You cannot use parallel function without batteries. If you use the low voltage ones, all of the batteries need to be connected to all of the inverters. So let's say you have one battery, you can start with that, but you need to connect this battery to all of the different inverters that you are using in parallel. From the communication side, you will also only connect the communication cable to the master inverter, but the power cables you have to connect to every inverter. For that, we have a solution that we will share you in a package as well in the wholesale catalog, because you need to use an energy bar, basically, where you connect the battery, and from the energy bar you can connect to all of the inverters separately, yes. So with that, you can also manage this connection. That one is also important because these batteries come with a 2-meter power cable, I believe, in original. And if you need to install the batteries further afar from the inverter, you also need to use the same setup that you would use for parallel connection. That's why we are offering this package, let's say, from the next month in our wholesale catalog, because you will need it quite a few times, I believe. It's not that it's a big investment, it's just that you need it for the installation. For the high voltage ones, if you are installing high voltage in parallel, then you have to attach batteries to all of the inverters separately, but those batteries have to be the same type and the same amount. So you cannot go with a 50 kilowatt or two 50 kilowatt inverters in parallel and use 4 Boss G on one and 5 on the other one. It will not work properly. You need to keep within these rules, and you need to remember those. There is also available an optimizer for Deye at the moment. That was not the case for a long time, but now they have their own optimizer. It's also important to keep in mind that they have 2 different series. So they have 2 different series. First of all, the A series, let's say, it's basically an optimizer that you can attach on the back of the solar panel and it will do its job, but you will not see in the monitoring applications. So this is an easy installation or easily installable device, but you will not see panel by panel performance on the monitoring app. If you would like to do that, then you need to use the B series from the optimizers. With the B series, you also need a concentrator like shown here. And to that, you can attach 25 devices in one string. So one concentrator can manage 100 devices. And for the concentrator, you also will need a power supply. This power supply you need to install on the DIN rail and connect it to the concentrator. And this way, you will see the optimizer's performance in the monitoring app as well. So you can see it's quite similar, for example, to Tigo. I believe a lot of you already know Tigo. If you install the optimizers in themselves, they will work, but they will not show on the monitoring app. If you purchase a Tigo access point, then you can see them in the monitoring app, but it will be a different monitoring app. Now, with Deye, you can see it in its own monitoring app, so you will see it within the inverter. Okay, then let's go through the batteries, because we have a quite lot to offer, and there are many possibilities from Deye batteries. There are just a few here on the pictures, but if you check the wholesale catalog, you will also see it's a very long list under Deye batteries. And it's important to check because not all of the batteries are compatible with all of the inverters, even though they are from the same brand. Okay, so we have RVF 10.2. This one is not here currently, but it's quite similar to the 6.1. Basically, the advantage with that battery is that you can install two of them in parallel without changing the original cable. So as I mentioned, you have to use this energy bar solution as it is written on the installation manual as well. But if you use only two from the 10.2 kilowatt hour battery, then you can connect those in parallel and connect it directly in the inverter, and you don't have to change anything. If you use the Pro B batteries, which are the most popular one, low voltage batteries, then after you go 10 kilowatt hour or over 10 kilowatt hours in capacity, you need to use this energy bar solution. This is the 6.1 battery. This is also a low voltage one. This is the one that you can see here. This one is not very popular at the moment in Hungary, but it could be in other regions. It's only dependent on the regulations, which ones are benefiting the customers. The reason why we keep so many batteries on stock is that maybe your customer will have different requirements. So if he would like to have 18 kilowatt hours of capacity, you can do it with that. You cannot do it with 5 kilowatt hour PCs. So only it's within the numbers, basically. There is AIW 5.1. With that, you can also provide a quite good aesthetic and a quite easy installation for your team. It's a bit more expensive than the Pro B one, but it's IP65, I believe, maybe 55, but it has a good protection. It has a separate BMS, however, that you have to purchase, which is quite rare in case of low voltage batteries, because low voltage batteries usually have inbuilt BMS. Okay, and here is the Pro B, the one that I mentioned several times already, because I believe this is the most popular one from Deye. Basically, we know that the market is very price sensitive, and this one is the cheapest solution at the moment. It's only IP20, so you have to install it indoors. It's important to pay attention that you don't put it outside, because if the temperature drops below 1 or 0 degrees Celsius, then the batteries will not be able to charge even from the grid. So it's not just that the inverter won't be able to charge them, but even from the grid, they will not be able to charge. And if this state is lasting for a long period of time, then it could cause harm to the batteries. And here is a picture from the installation manual that we already discussed. So if you have a parallel installation, you have to use an energy bar like this and connect as shown on the picture. So the communication cables connecting all of the batteries together, and it's connected to one of the only the master inverter. This is an installation of our own, maybe somewhere in the first period of Deye when we did that, because the 50 kilowatt hybrid one was still not available in Hungary. That's why we had to use 4 times the 12 kilowatt low voltage one, because only low voltage hybrid inverters were allowed to install in the country. And you can see there is 4 batteries with every inverter. There was a lot of cable management back then, because we did not have this package available, that we needed to collect from separate manufacturers. So this package that we will offer for you for this kind of installation, it's not a Deye solution, because Deye does not provide these kinds of additional devices. We needed to collect and find the best solutions for ourselves, and these installations gave us enough experience that now we are sure that this is the easiest solution. It will not look like this on the picture. I wanted to show you this to see how complicated it can be to connect in parallel if you have many devices and you don't have this help from someone who have experienced the difficulties of parallel installation. So we have the Boss G batteries as well. These are similar in capacity to the Pro B, 5.1 kilowatt hour. This is the most common one. These are high voltage batteries, so you need to install a BMS for that as well. Sometimes it's called control box, sometimes somebody calls it BMS. Basically, it's responsible for connecting the batteries to the inverter, and it will regulate the batteries. The cycle time is usually this 6,000 time or 6,000 cycle. So you have warranty for that, and 0.5C is also a common number with the Deye batteries, and not just Deye batteries, but usually when you buy batteries in the solar area, you will find that number. Basically, it means that you need 2 hours to charge and discharge the battery. Regarding scalability, it also offers a lot of different options. From Bosch, you can install 12 in a rack, or you can even expand further to that. Probably also you can be stacked in 12 times in one rack. So the biggest rack we offer is a 12-piece rack. That's already 60 kilowatt hours. If you have a bigger hybrid inverter, which you will probably have if you install that amount of batteries, you will have 2 battery inputs. So you can install 120 kilowatt hours with easy from these 5 kilowatt hour pieces. And there are many installation, let's say, phase in the first period when somebody starts installing Deye, only because it offers a lot of different options. So I would like to give a brief introduction. What are the most common faults that we encounter when helping our partners? So hopefully you will overcome these when you install a Deye device. So first of all, the CTs. Now that we have batteries and we have to pay attention to feedback to the grid, so we will not realize export to the grid, we have to install CTs. These are instead of smart meters. Sometimes you can use smart meters when the distance between the metering point and the inverter is way too long or way too big. Then you need to purchase an additional smart meter, because the signal from the CT will not be strong enough to reach the inverter, let's say. But the smart meter provides a communication signal instead of just a current. So you can use a repeater within the line and it will strengthen the signal. So one of the most important things is to check whether the CT's arrow is pointing towards the inverter when you install a device. It's not the same for every brand. So if you install a different brand and maybe from your reflex you install the CTs pointing towards the grid, it will not work properly, and it will not only show a negative value on the metering, it will show something completely unreasonable. So you need to pay attention that the CT's direction is good enough. Also, it's probably worth to check, because on the online monitoring platform you have a few moments of delay, and there is an average value, not a real-time value. So that's also the case with all of the inverters and all of the brands, but it's hard to troubleshoot that way if the CT direction is wrong. So basically what we recommend, if it's possible, when you install a system, ask the customer to turn on 3 different consumers on the 3 phases, so you will see instantly on the inverter screen that the consumption is properly like on the screen. So second, the communication cables. With the low voltage batteries, we often find the issue that the installation manuals are now very long because of the lot of options, and not everyone is reading through them. And once they find a way to connect the communication cable, they think it's going to apply to every scenario. And this includes the low voltage batteries. There is an out port and an in port for the communication on the battery, but there is also a PCS port, and mostly you use the out and in port. But for connecting with the inverter, you have a BMS port right here on the right side. So it's important that you use this one, and you connect that to the PCS port on the battery, because if you connect it to the out or in port, it will not function at all. So it will not communicate with the battery. Also, another important thing to mention is battery placement. Because of the low voltage, there is higher current on these cables. So that's why usually you only try to use the factory cables, because for sure those will be within the possible parameters. But if you have to move further the battery, then you need to use this energy bar solution, and you need to purchase an additional cable to connect the energy bar to the inverter, and you need to size according to the current of the setup. So for example, if you buy a Pro V battery, you will have the recommended ampere amount at 50. So for one Probe, 50 amps. For two Probe, because they are connected in parallel, 100 amps, and let's so on. So it will also be 48 volts, but the ampere will increase, or the current will increase with each additional battery. So you need to keep that in mind and size the cable accordingly, because otherwise, if the distance is too long, the cable will heat up, and that could cause a hazard. So also there is phase order. Phase order should be automated, but it is not. So you will sometimes encounter a W03 error code on the screen when you install a Deye inverter, and it will go off-grid, and it will not connect to the grid for the sake of it whatsoever. So you have to go into the settings and change the phase order. It's in the grid settings. There are only two options, 0, 120, and 240, and 240, 0, 120. You need to change that if you see W03 error code. Once you decide to change that and you press on the setting, it will have the pop-up window where it will ask you that, are you sure you want to change this, because it could cause damage to the inverter. Please be calm, you can change it, it will not cause damage to the inverter, it will only make it work. But even if you are on the good setup of the phase order and you change it to the wrong one, it will still not damage the inverter, so please not be worried about that. Also, there is a touch screen, which means that the customer could access the inverter that you don't want, because if the customer changes the settings and it will not work for some reason, it will make you extra work, and for no reason. Also, it can cause problems with the regulations. So the inverter sometimes closes out the possible changes. And for that, you have an option, because the customer can check the settings but should not set it. So there is a lockout all changes settings in the basic menu. It's also the same one when you can turn off the beeping of the inverter when you first install it, because it can be very annoying. But also here is the lockout all changes option. And there should be a mark in that square. When the customer cannot change the settings, you have to remove that mark and save the settings. So from there on, you can access to the settings from the touch screen. With a period of time over, it will automatically put back the lockout all changes function, so the customer will not access the changes. If you decide to remove that mark and use the settings on the touch screen, you will have to give a password. That's written in the installation manual. It's number 7 4 times. So with that, you can access to the touchscreen settings. And also another important note is that there is a factory reset option in the same menu, which will also require a password. This is not the same password. So with, if you press 7 4 times, you will not access the factory reset. You will have to press 9 4 times in that password. So basically, there are two different passwords that you can use for the touchscreen. It's in the installation manual. You don't have to remember that. It's just important to remember where you can find these passwords. But you can also ask us for that in case you need. There is also a new way of troubleshooting within the company. I think it's important to mention, because if you have any difficulties with the installations, you will try to call, and most probably, and we will not be able to answer many times in the last couple of months, because we had way too many questions. But now we created a ticketing system which will go live from Monday, and we will share the link with you, that you can ask any questions that are not that urgent that you need to answer them right now. So with that, we can remove a lot of workload from ourselves and be able to answer you if you have an urgent question in phone. Of course, the salesperson will give our phone numbers, Norby's and mine, most probably, if you have any technical questions, and then you can reach us and we will help you from the phone if it's possible. Also, we have a lot of educational videos. This is Norby showing how to set up and how to commission a Deye inverter. Of course, it will not include all of the different setups, because there are so many possibilities that you cannot do it in one video. But with this video, I believe you should be able to do 95% or 90% of your installations. So it's a very well-rounded one. I certainly recommend watching it. We try to post as many educational information on our YouTube channel as we can. It's also in English, also in Hungarian. Some of our videos are available in additional languages as well, but those are rarer, so I would just recommend the English ones. And also, it's called SolarKit Europe, so it's because the company name is SolarKit Hungary, but now that we are all around Europe, we created a different YouTube channel where we only upload the English and other languages videos, so you don't have to scroll through a lot of Hungarian videos if you don't understand it. We have also the web shop. There also under the contact link, this ticketing system link will be shown. So you will have to fill out an English form. Basically, the most important thing that you will need, if you have a fault somewhere on a site, you will have to provide a serial number from the device that is faulty or the inverter to which the faulty device is connected. If you only have a question that you would like some additional information about because you have a system that you are designing and you are not sure how to design with Deye, or with any other of our brands, you will have also the option here that you submit a ticket that is only a technical question, so you don't have to have a serial number for that. You can just upload a question and we will answer it for you. Okay, I think that's the most of it about Deye for now. Norby will also talk a bit about it because of the industrial storage applications. If you have any questions, you can ask them now in the breaks, or there would be many other breaks and many other presentations. I will be here the whole day, so if you have any questions, you can raise them. Now you can go for a coffee now. Thank you very much.